What is going on, everybody? This is Mike from the Last Corvette. So we'll say this is part one of troubleshooting my backup camera. So going on now, what, 5 years? One of the first mods that I did is I upgraded my head unit, installed a Pioneer NEX into the C6, added a backup camera and a front-facing camera as well. Everything's been working like it should. The last couple of months, I would put the vehicle in reverse and the screen would switch on the Pioneer, which tells me the trigger wire, which is driven off a computer, works, but I would get no video input. So I'm like, you know, I'll get to it when I get to it. I also, it was an intermittent problem. It wasn't a constant problem. Then it progressively got worse to the point where now the picture started to get really fuzzy. So basically a lot of noise or static. So I said to myself, you know what? I will investigate when I find time. So today I have a little bit of time and I did the install, so I know exactly where all the connections are. So the first thing you have to do, or at least for me anyway, I had to remove this cover, this trim cover. Now on these C6s, there are a couple of things. You have these retainers. They actually screw on. You got one here, it goes like this. And you got one on the opposite side right there. And what these are is for a like a cargo net. I don't have one, but obviously they're still there. Then you got two larger push pins. They go right there. So you have a larger diameter imprint right there, and these just snap in. Now you also have two smaller push pins, one here and then one here. So you got to take those out, use some trim tools, or you'll be basically replacing push pins. But anyway, so once you get, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 points of contact off this trim panel, you can just basically push it out of the way. And as you can see, this is my original install. So this goes right through the tub. This is original grommet that I reused to run my video cable and also power cables. And these are specific to backup cameras. You can see there's a power wire involved on top of your video signals. So as you can see, the center post is broken off, and I had electrical tape actually over this connection like so. So when I took this apart, I had the vehicle in accessory mode with the reverse on, and there was no signal whatsoever. So then what I did is I checked for power, checked for ground, all that stuff was good. And then I grabbed this, and it still had electrical tape on it. I started kind of twisting it, and guess what? I ended up getting a clear image coming through my backup camera. So when I took the tape off, the center post just came right out. And I guarantee you, because this was actually zip tied, there's no movement here. This has never been apart since the install. It must have been a faulty cable to start. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to order a new one. And basically, it's like $5 or $6 on eBay. They are specific because they do have an extra power wire, basically your signal wire. So you can't just use a regular RCA. I mean, you could, but it would require more wiring for say. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to buy a new cable, and that's going to be part 2. And I'm going to splice it right behind that panel that I just removed or I showed you guys. Because I'm not rerunning that whole run, because it's the way I ran this backup camera is it goes this way, comes down center line under the center console, then it splits into a signal wire going to the computer, and obviously the video input goes under the center console behind into the Pioneer itself. So anyway, I'm going to place the order, and once I basically fix it, I'll show you guys the fix. Obviously, I'm going to solder the connections together, make it look nice and clean, and hopefully that connection is better quality because, like I said, there's no movement. It's not like this thing has been apart since the install. It's just, I guess, a vibration, or maybe just, I don't know, age, and it just kind of crumbled apart. All right, stay tuned. All right, so while I'm waiting on my freshly ordered cable, I'm gonna do a quick little splice into part 1 and explain to you guys what I got going on. So for $6.36 out of New Jersey or whatever it is, I purchased a brand new RCA video cable. Now, as I stated in the original video in part 1, these cables are specific to cameras. And the reason they're specific to cameras is because they have a trigger or a signal wire that commands the camera to either turn on or off, right? You don't want it on all the time. I guess you could, but whatever. So in my case, I have my trigger wired right to the computer. That is basically on T6s anyway, in the passenger footwell, and it's wired and set up just like any other vehicle with a backup camera that came from the manufacturer. So put in reverse and you get your image on your head unit. Now, you can cut this many different ways. You don't need to connect it to the computer. You can also connect it to a switch or even your backup lights or reverse lights. One thing to remember is that most manufacturers, when it comes to your head units, audio, video, they will allow you to tell it to either accept 12 volts, so a positive trigger, or a ground, because a lot of vehicles are controlled by a ground circuit, meaning that certain functions, certain features, certain relays actually trigger off a ground, not off a 12 volt signal. So 12 volt is always there, and ground comes and goes. Hopefully that helps in a nutshell. So anyway, that's an option that's in there. You can choose whichever trigger signal you want to use. Most of these cables are 10 meters or 30 feet, 32 feet long. And that's exactly what I ended up getting. The reason they're 32 is because for vehicles in general, it covers the small, medium, large, SUVs, vans, stuff like that. You know, if you need to extend it, you can. They do sell just simple, basically male-to-male connection. It's a female adapter. And one thing to note is all of these cables that run from camera to the head unit, they are double-ended males, meaning that both ends of the cable have a male connection, because you have a female on the receiving side coming from the camera. You also have a female on the back of your head unit or whatever else you got, screen or something like that, monitor, right? If you want to go longer, I recommend just buying a single cable without using some sort of adapter. Just makes it cleaner, easier, and also lowers the chances, especially if you're really into quality, video quality or whatever, right? Or even audio is the same way. You want to make sure that you have a clear, crisp image. More connections, more splices you have usually leads to quality distortion or fuzz, like I said, so static. In my case, I'm not going to rerun that whole cable. Like I stated before, I'm going to make a nice, clean connection splice right behind that cover. And that's really going to be it. So when that cable comes in sometime next week, I'll make part 2, or I might just do all in one. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure I'm just going to do part 1 first and then part 2. But one thing to remember for sure is when you are working on audio or video cables, most of them are shielded, and they're shielded for a reason, because you have power running right next to your either audio or video input. In this case, it's a video input. So they're shielded, meaning that you're not going to get interference and you get a nice, crisp image of whatever it is that's being displayed by either your front camera, back camera, side cameras, whatever it is. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the insulation. I'm going to solder all of the connections. And then what I'm going to do is I'll use shrink tubing basically to shrink everything back in place, and then have a single big sleeve, another shrink tubing sleeve that will actually go over the shielding. And then once everything is covered, I'll put some electrical tape on it, and that's it. Now, some people might ask, well, you're saying don't splice, don't do this. This is a short run. This is a very small vehicle. Making connections, a single connection, especially when you run wires like I do. When I run wires, I always expose all of the connections on purpose. So like in this case, I could have had my RCA somewhere hidden, you know, I don't know, in the inner wheel liner or something like that, right? Something crazy. But I do it on purpose, where if there is issue or you have to swap out a camera, it's all there. You can troubleshoot it, you can test your power, your ground, and obviously your video input. So for me, it makes sense to just splice it in because it's just a short little run. If everything goes according to plan, which I've done this hundreds of times, it's going to have no effect on the video output. But if I had to make multiple cuts or splices, of course, I would just be replacing the whole video cable altogether. So anywho, I will talk to you guys later. I will make a video when that cable comes in. We'll splice it in, test it out, and what I'm going to do is, well, I'll do the same thing. I guarantee you that was just a quality problem from the get-go. I mean, they all come from China, like everything else, and I'm assuming that post was damaged and it just vibrated loose over the years, or is just basically disintegrated loose over the years. Who knows? Keep you guys in the loop when the cable comes in.